Greetings, welcome back to the Old Ways Rising Farm YouTube channel. Today we're doing an experiment. This is a sweet potato plant and a cat that's in my way. Now, the cat has nothing to do with the experiment, he's just going to be in my way for the next few minutes. Sweet potatoes are a wonderful, wonderful crop to grow and one that my family quite enjoys, and we would like to grow some. The problem is that this is a tropical plant with a very, very long ripening season. Now, in our climate, northern mid-Atlantic region broadly defined, we have more than enough warm days to ripen sweet potatoes, at least the shorter ripening versions of them. The really, really long varieties that take almost a full year to ripen, not so much, but the shorter ripening varieties, yes. The problem is that we have a lot of really late frosts in the spring and really early frosts in the fall. And sweet potatoes have literally zero frost tolerance. This brings us to the experiment. I've been thinking about this, and I'm looking for easy ways to protect them. So I'm going to take this sweet potato vine, I'm going to plant it in this here pot. This is a 7-gallon tree pot of the sort that, you get trees in regularly from nurseries, so they're readily available. Just kind of picking at the bottom of the soil wad here, straighten out those roots a little bit. And this is a nice sized pot in that it has a lot of root area, but it's still pretty easy to pick up and move around. Okay? And I just want to see how this will do in this sort of pot culture. I know sweet potato vines are grown as ornamentals in pots like this, so the plant will certainly not have a biological problem. But I don't know whether it will successfully ripen a large enough sweet potato in enough quantity to be worth the effort of doing this. But if it works, it would be a lot of fun to be able to grow some sweet potatoes, bring them onto a porch, and get them out of the way of those late spring frosts. Likewise, with the early fall frosts, to take full advantage of all of the warm days that we do have to ripen this plant. So it is it's the very early June. Okay, this is June 3rd. June 2nd. Okay. I will show you everything that I do messing around with this pot over the summer, and we'll look at the harvest together in the fall. We just have a really, really quick update on the sweet potato project here. It is the very last week in September, and you can see that there's a couple of tubers that are starting to develop. There's one sticking out of the ground, there's one sticking out of the ground. And I started noticing tuber development about 2-3 weeks ago. I wanted to get a little clip in as soon as they were visible. I got busy there for a week and a half. So it's a week after I wanted to film this, but we've had tuber development for about 3 weeks. There's nothing in there that's bigger than a small carrot. I've stuck my finger down in beside them, just kind of feel how they're developing, and they're still very, very small. So these need quite a little bit of time yet, and it's September. This is why we have such trouble growing these sweet potatoes this far north. You have to have some way to protect them. But we have big, big, beautiful vine growth. You can see it's going way off here to the side, and only about half of the vine mass is in view of the camera at the moment. So it's a very healthy, happy plant. It's gotten watered as needed. It's gotten some manure fertilizer as needed. And other than that, it's just been sitting in this here pot. Now, being it's September and October, we can get frost at this point, right? So this is where we have to watch, and that's nowhere near ready to harvest. And that's the exercise. That's the question mark on this. Can we keep it? Can we keep it alive long enough into the fall now to get tubers that are worth harvesting? And B, was it worth the effort at the end? So we're going to keep on with this little experiment, and we'll see how long it takes to get a tuber from this little guy. Well, we just have another little update here. It is the second week in October, and we started to have some overnight lows in the 40s. As you can see, the sweet potato vine is not happy about this. It has plenty of water, so that's not a water deficit. It's just not liking the cold and starting to wilt a little bit. So it has been brought on the porch, and we'll just see how much time we can get out of it to thicken those tubers. Here we go. We got our final results. The plant has gone completely down. There's still a little bit of green in it, and we had a hard freeze about a week ago, and it went down as a result of that freeze. But having it in the pot on the porch kept this little bugger alive until the end of October. It's now very early November, and we're going to see what we got in the pot. So in that regard, this was successful. I'm just going to kind of try to save most of this dirt for planting seeds in, tree seeds. So we'll shake that out. We'll just pull out the sweet potatoes. So we actually do have quite a few sweet potatoes in here. Bear with me a second to get them out of the soil. And then I'll get them all up so you can see. Okay. Are there any more in there? I don't believe so. Pump the rest of this out to make sure. Oh, there is one. Okay. I think we got them all. So if I set this pot here, I have a little table, and there is our yield of sweet potatoes. And there. A couple little scrawny guys yet. Get them packed in here. Well, I'll just hold that up. You can see what's left. Okay. Hold the spuds up. There's a couple of decent sized ones like this guy. If all of these little carrot sized tubers had matured to this or bigger, this would be a really good yield. Okay. If they had another month and a half of growing season, if these things would have stayed alive until Christmas, and I would have had time to put another heavy fertilization on them and time for that to matter, work into the soil and matter and give them growth, they would do that. These would keep ripening as long as they stay alive. Sweet potato is actually a perennial in the right climate. But obviously that's not what happened. So we've got a whole bunch of these skinny guys. And this just illustrates the difficulty of growing this particular crop in cold regions. It's not that they won't grow, it's not that they can't grow, it's that you get this, right? So, was this a success? Well, we kept this plant alive for a full month and a half after it would have gone down normally in the earliest frosts. Check mark for success. We grew sweet potatoes, including a couple of large ones. That one's fairly big, this one's fairly big. So we did get some yield. We did definitely get some sweet potatoes out of this. Is it worth it? I don't know. That's up to you. You see what we got? You see what we put into it? Is it worth it is a personal question, right? If there is a variety that you love and you can't get, a family heirloom or something like that, yeah, this is probably worth it. If you could do this in a large bed, like in a cold frame, and you want to build a cold frame and dedicate that to sweet potato production, probably worth it. Is it worth it to me to do this in pots, moving them on and off a porch? No. So, I'm not going to do it again. You might want to. Depends on your goals, depends on what you've got going on, depends on what else is happening, what your resources are, what your needs are, and what you want to grow for what reasons. So this will be worth it to some people and not to others. I'm not going to try and have a firm conclusion on that. I'm just going to say, here's the data, take it and go forth. So you have the observation, you see what we got, make your own decision. But either way, I hope that you've gotten something out of this. If you did, I would be wonderfully grateful if you gave it a thumbs up. It helps the YouTube algorithm know that you've enjoyed this video and show it to others. And I will see you next time at Old Ways Rising Farm.